the Hub on Hollywood. I'm James.
I'm Jamie.
And we love movies.
We also love spring.
We also love spring. You're outside right now. The weather is like abnormally great in Massachusetts today.
It's spectacular. And you know, if anyone knows anything about Massachusetts, you know that the number of good days are limited.
Yeah.
Yes, and my son's out here climbing trees and grabbing leaves, and so we're going to do the Hub on Hollywood a little bit outdoors today and enjoy the spring and the sunshine and the leaves.
Yeah, I wish I was outside right now, but yeah, but
a little later.
But you know, why be outside when you can be inside in front of your TV and watching so many great things and so many new developments in the entertainment world? On today's episode of the Hub on Hollywood, we had to talk about what everybody is talking about, what just broke on Wednesday, the Snyder Cut. After years of fan demand, wanting to see Zack Snyder's version of Justice League after it didn't do so well at the box office, the Snyder Cut is coming on VOD, specifically HBO Max. We're going to be talking about how that came about and what we will be expecting. Also, more Mandalorian news. Timothy Olyphant, he has been cast to be in season 2, and there's something pretty interesting about who he's been cast as, and a lot of rumors going around of what's going around, or possibly in that second season. Followed up by now. Of course, this is gonna be a very heavy Star Wars centric episode, but in the Star Wars fandom, there's the light side, the dark side, and the gray Jedi. It's something that we've been something in between. Many people have been talking about for years, but the controversy. There's some controversy going around regarding the gray Jedi, and apparently they don't exist. Not because of Order 66. They just don't exist canonically.
Unacceptable. The opinions will be strong. The opinions will be very strong in this episode.
Very strong. And then later on, we have a final interview with Kyle Couture. He's the owner of Gradient Films here in Massachusetts. We sit down and talk about the post-COVID world of filming for, films, TV shows, and commercials where he specializes in. We will be getting to that at the end of the episode. But before we do, thank you everyone for tuning into this week's episode. If you're watching us on YouTube, please like and comment down below. Please subscribe, share us with your friends. If you are listening to us on one of the many podcast streaming services out there, thank you so much. Tell your friends. The more listeners, the merrier. And also, we're also on the social media, on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Follow us at Hub on Hollywood. Stay up to date when our new episodes come out and breaking news gets posted. But first, Jamie.
James. Please drum roll. Snyder Cut.
The Snyder Cut, yeah. So this was something that fans have been demanding since Justice League came out in 2017, and now it is a reality. And so right now, The Hollywood Reporter says HBO Max will debut the project in 2021, and this was coming from the lips of Zack Snyder himself, making that announcement, kind of thanking the fans for being so forward in demanding this, because the version of Justice League that we got back in 2017 is not the Justice League that he imagined or the Justice League that he wanted to make. He, unfortunately, we may remember that there was a loss in his family and he had to step down, and Joss Whedon, a great director in his own right, he ended up finishing and making the movie after Snyder had to step down. And the version we got, the Joss Whedon version, very divisive. And when I say divisive, I think the majority of people were not satisfied with Justice League, including the actors. And so since then, the demand for the Snyder Cut grew. And now it's coming to us relatively soon.
What do we know about it? What do we know about the differences between this cut and what we got out of the Justice League? Because some of the criticisms of the Justice League, too dark, too depressing. The characters didn't interact well with each other. The story wasn't what some fans were hoping for. So what do we know about the differences?
Yeah, so the version that Joss Whedon made, about 80% of it had to be redone or reshot and put together. and the way it came out was not how Zack Snyder imagined it coming out. And so HBO Max, Warner Brothers, they heard the demand and they're coming out with a possible 4-hour director's cut version or
Oh
a
my.
6-part series on HBO Max. And Warner Brothers will reportedly spend $20 million to complete the director's cut and is expected to premiere in 2021. Now, the whole lore behind the Snyder Cut, a lot of people were theorizing or believed or hoped that there was this final product that Zack Snyder had already worked on and completed and was just sitting on the shelves collecting dust. That turned out to not be the case. It turned out that the film was not saved or made that way at all. However, reportedly Snyder is in the midst of reassembling the post-production crew, the score, the cut. He's adding visual effects, so it's going to look like a completed film, and maybe even bring back actors to record additional dialogue or even suit up once again and to complete this film, to complete his vision of it. And so a lot of work. And this has never been done before. This may be setting precedent for other directors in the future or past who were not happy with,
Star Wars.
not having
Wars.
possibly. I'm not sure that far. I think people are letting that go. But yeah, so this could be a way for, we've heard in the past with directors saying, the studio heads, the executives, they changed their movie. They gave too much input, and a lot of that input coming from these executives and studio heads are not good. And they can change a movie's feel, the direction, the plot from what the director or the writer was thinking. And so this could set precedent for, possible movies that didn't come out how the director wanted it to be fixed or at least reassembled and then put on VOD, just because of the pandemic, movie theaters are closed, and Warner Brothers and studios and these video on demand services are trying to find anything new to help provide audiences with new content. And so $20 million, Warner Brothers is betting that this is going to not only possibly draw in more people to HBO Max, but also, make the fandom happy. And this could probably, I don't know, maybe if I don't have full confidence that this Snyder Cut is going to be a great movie, but at least it gives back the power to the director and the writer and the visionary for the movies. Now, can I ask you really quick, what did you think of the previous Justice League or any of the DC EU movies, including, Man of Steel? Yeah, go ahead.
I've always thought that they were all too dark, that they were all too depressing, and there wasn't enough hope. But I always thought it was just too dark, too grimy, not just the story-wise, but even visually-wise. It's like I can't see what's happening in this film because it's so dark. And Man of Steel, Superman, a great American iconic comic hero, they turned him into someone that was so, when he no spoilers here. I mean, well, yes, spoiler. You should
Let's spoil it. This is like
already,
years old.
He kills the villain at the end, who is Michael Shannon, fantastic actor, we love him. But who kills Zog at the end of the film, and then he's just dealing with that the darkness of his action and having to murder people, and it's just, and after they just obliterated tens of thousands of people that lived in part of that city, it's just, there's enough horrible things happening in real life right now. Like, the purpose of these comics and the purpose of all of these iconic things that people grew up with, American comics, is to instill hope and heroism and color. And I think that we see, like with Taika Waititi, the fact that he is super, super hot right now and everyone is grabbing at him to do their next projects. That's what the viewer really wants. That's what the moviegoers are looking for. We're looking for an escape. We're not looking for just rip my heart out and give me a two-dimensional Superman or other Justice League properties that don't really, at least make you laugh at some point. So that's my take on it, James. What about you?
Now, for me, I think Henry Cavill is the perfect casting for Superman. However, the way he's written, kind of like how you mentioned, the lack of hope, the lack of admiration that that kind of character has brought back in the past. I don't mind darker films. I don't mind grittier films. Again, The Dark Knight, the Christopher Nolan versions, they're beautifully shot, and the world is very realistic, but also, it fits the Batman mold. And so I don't mind the dark, gritty. Now the color palette, yeah, I agree with you. A lot of it's dark.
I can't even see the movie.
Exactly, but I thought the Henry Cavill was the perfect Superman. His character wasn't written how I would have liked it. I thought Ben Affleck, a very, very good Batman. And for the most part, I thought he did well in Batman versus Superman. I don't like how Joss Whedon had him directed in Justice League. But, for the most part, when it comes to the DCEU, unlike Marvel that hits home run after home run after home run, the DCEU struggled. Now, Man vs. Steel, I enjoyed it. It wasn't great. Again, the character of Superman I wasn't really feeling it. Batman vs. Superman was such a huge letdown. That had such potential to be a great movie, but they jam-packed 5 plot lines and everything else in that movie. Suicide Squad, very disappointing. Wonder Woman had a resurgence, brought back, color and fun.
Yes,
and
yes.
I love Gal Gadot and how she portrayed Wonder Woman. Follow that up by Justice League. Again, a big letdown. Aquaman. Now, Jason Momoa is a great Aquaman for sure. The first movie, however, his first solo, is just too overstuffed.
It's honestly, James, that Aquaman movie is the first movie that I've walked out of in like 10 years.
I fell asleep at the end of Aquaman. I couldn't stay awake. It was too long.
It was too long. There was too much going on. It didn't make any sense. It was just ridiculous. It was predictable. It was unnecessarily bloated. And like I said, first movie I've walked out on in 10 years. The DCU really needs to step it up.
Yeah, so I'm not a huge fan of Zack Snyder's vision or how he envisions this world or the characters. And so again, I'm not too confident that this Snyder Cut is going to be the best movie or the best version of all these characters, but it at least is giving the power back to Zack Snyder. Again, he had to drop out because of family issues, unfortunately, but now at least he has the chance to make what he wanted to make, good or bad, and it gives the fans who've been demanding this to happen, something to be satisfied about. Now, here's one cool thing. So Henry Cavill, during Zack Snyder's announcement, he was online streaming it live, and he, said the Snyder Cut is coming out. Henry Cavill was in the chat, or he joined into the conversation, and he says that he wants to do it again without the mustache, and because everyone knows the mustache.
Oh yes, the infamous mustache.
It looks so weird, and so by Henry Cavill saying he wants to do it without the mustache, that gives me the very real feeling that he's going to suit back up into the Superman suit and maybe film extra scenes, again, with perfect lip intact. And so I think that's amazing.
So I was on the fence about Henry Cavill from the Superman movies. I fell back in love with him watching The Witcher on Netflix. Fantastic, like just the sense of humor that he brings to it too. It's not just his physicality, which he is abundant in physicality, but he has a great sense of humor. Do you like how I worded it that way and not?
Yes.
Yes, he's an Adonis.
This is a family show.
He's also funny. So I think he's a fantastic actor. Yes, I would like to see it without the removal of the CG mustache that was so rushed. And God, they spent millions of dollars just CGing out this ridiculous mustache that he had for another film, and so he contractually had to keep it on, and they ended up CGing it out, and it was just yes, I would definitely like to see how that would look. Also, Henry.
Now, one thing I would also love to see, however, is a Superman with a mustache. Like, I would be totally okay with them using that footage that they have with his mustache and just let Superman have a mustache. He died in the Justice League or in the previous movie, and again, spoilers, it's been out for years. Now, he died and he comes back in Justice League. Who's to say Superman can't grow a mustache while in the tomb? I would totally suspend my disbelief for that just to see Henry Cavill and that beautiful mustache, because it was very beautiful, a very manly mustache that I wish that I could one day grow when I become a man.
Yes. So I'm blanking, and this is I feel so bad about this. Original Superman, well, not super original Superman, but um,
Christopher Reeves.
yes. Thank you. We're right here. We're right here. Christopher Reeves. Was it Superman 2 or Superman 3? Didn't he have a point where he lost his powers and he grew a mustache and a beard? And
Yeah,
it
I
was
believe.
wonderful.
Yeah, I believe it was part three. No, I think the movie part three is like the worst movie, but yeah, I mean, yeah, Superman looks good with a beard, with
He looked
some
great with a beard,
scruff.
and I love that. He's actually, there are stakes. There's actually some stakes there. He's depressed. He's lost his powers. He's a regular Joe Schmo with a 5 o'clock shadow. I'm all for that.
Oh,
I'm
I take that
totally
back.
all for that.
I take that back. I think it's part two he loses his powers, and then part three, that's a different terrible movie where he starts growing his beard for some reason. But yeah, bring back now for the Snyder cut. Bring back the Superman stash. I'm down for
Yeah,
that.
super stash.
Super stash. So yeah,
Okay.
Snyder cut coming 2021, HBO Max. I'm curious if they're only going to let people with HBO Max watch it, or because of how popular the demand is, if they're going to do some kind of thing where, like, you pay $5, you're not subscribed to that service, but $5 or $10, you watch the movie. And I think I don't have it, but I'd be willing to pay $5 or $10 for that movie alone. Again, 4 hour
Yeah.
movie or 6 episodic series.
Yeah, no, I'm on board with you. I just spent $15 on Matilda for this guy, right?
Still watching Matilda.
Oh my gosh, every day. You like Matilda, buddy? You love Matilda? Yeah, yeah. I'll have him put together a review maybe for next time.
Nice, nice. So, moving on, Timothy Olyphant. Now, this is big news when it comes to the Star Wars universe and The Mandalorian. We just keep getting more and more news of people being cast for season 2, which I like and I don't like, because I would like to go into watching a new show, clear-headed, not knowing what's going to happen or who's going to be popping up. But at the same time, I'm a big Star Wars fan, so you just can't keep all the news away from me. But yeah, big news: Timothy Olyphant, he is joining the Mandalorian. He is reported his character will not be playing Boba Fett, the galaxy's best bounty hunter, but he will be wearing Boba Fett's Mandalorian armor.
Dun dun dun! Question
Dun,
mark,
dun,
question mark,
dun.
question mark. Why is he
Yeah.
wearing Boba Fett's armor if he is not Boba Fett?
So
What is
it's
happening
rumored.
here?
So it's rumored that he's going to be playing a Star Wars character named Cobb Vanth, and he's only mentioned in the novels, and I think one
Okay.
or between 2 or 3 novels. And he's in the series, he's a self-appointed sheriff living on Tatooine, in a settlement called Freetown. He's a former slave who freed himself, and he acquired the Mandalorian armor from Jawa scavengers. And so, with
Okay.
the whole theory that Boba Fett survived, he was able to escape. In the novel, he loses his armor, and so in the Jawas, again, they're scavengers. They actually, in one version, they think he's actually a robot with the helmet and whatnot. And so,
Yeah.
through a series of events, he loses his armor, and then this character Cobb Vanth, he buys it or steals the armor himself, and then he just makes himself a sheriff, and he may be the character that we saw at the very end of The Gunslinger with those boots and the spur sounding boots. So very cool.
Well, we shall see. Remains
We
to be
shall
seen.
see.
But it's very exciting, but also I don't want to know too much.
I know.
You know what I mean? Like, so much information comes out ahead of time, and I know they're trying to like drum up excitement and whatnot. But I really, really, really just want to be surprised. I don't want to know too much. I'm like la 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 la. It's like, okay, that's fine. I'm excited. You got me. You got me at Boba Fett. Okay, you had me at Boba Fett. So. And
Yeah.
Baby Yoda. I mean, you would have had me without Boba Fett too.
We were gonna
so.
watch it anyway, so but
We were
I'm
gonna
really
watch it
excited
either
for
way.
this cast because Timothy Olyphant, he's been in a plethora of movies and TV shows, but most recently Santa Clarita Diet, which I watched, I think, half of the first season or maybe the full season, and it's great with Drew Barrymore. He was also
Yeah.
on Justified, and most recently Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. So anything that he's in, it's gonna be good.
All right.
Yes.
It shall be. So it shall
shall be done.
Do the mic. Yes.
All right. So before we get to our next topic, again, thank you so much for tuning into the Hub on Hollywood this week. Jamie, for those who are on the social medias, where can they find the Hub on Hollywood?
On the Twitters and whatnot, on the social medias. Look at you with your coffee.
I
You can
know.
find us on Twitter. You can find us on Instagram. You can listen to us wherever major podcasts are heard. That's including iHeartRadio and iTunes and everywhere that you love to hear these wonderful voices come to you and bring some entertainment during these crazy times while you're stuck at home during this pandemic or trying to adapt to whatever is happening. Take a break. Give yourself, treat yourself. Treat yourself, James. Find us on the social medias, like us, share us, comment. We love comments. We will debate you, or if you have a topic idea or something that you would love us to watch, we would totally love that too. Let us know.
Yeah, also give you a shout out. Now, more Star Wars news and debates. Without Star Wars, without Star Wars, we would have no debate practically because everything revolves around that.
Yeah.
And back in the public eye is the topic of gray Jedi's. That debate
Oh
has
God.
apparently resurfaced. Now, actor Freddie Prinze Jr. Remember that guy?
Oh, Freddie Prinze. What's he been
Yeah.
up to? He's still around?
Yeah, he's still around and he's doing great things. And he actually voiced the character of Canon Jarrus in the Star Wars Rebels series for 4 seasons. And so he's a lifelong Star Wars fan. And now, I guess he went on a rant about Gray Jedi back in
Yeah.
October of last year. However, the video is resurfaced and it's making the rounds once again, bringing up the debate of whether or not Gray Jedi uh, are a thing in Star Wars canon. And for those who are not sure or aware, can you describe what a gray Jedi is, where they fit?
Where they fit in. So, James, I've got some history for you here. Okay. So, at the very beginning of the Jedi, when the Jedi first came to be, they existed on a planet called Bion. And in this original Jedi, okay, they were called the Jedi. In this original Jedi society, everyone learned every aspect of the Force. It was the light and the dark. Now, this is from supplemental material, as to whether or not this is still canon, I don't know. But the Jedi, they studied both the light and the dark. And if they had a dark moon and a light side moon, and if, say, you went too far to the dark side, they would send you to the light side moon to balance out and meditate, or vice versa. If you're too light, you go to the dark side moon. And so they were the original Jedi, and they were gray. They were somewhere in the middle. They were those who you take all of the span of human experience and you integrate it. You've integrated all parts of yourself, and you were somewhere in the middle. You are not a Jedi who is, has to abide by that code. You don't abide fully by the Jedi code or fully by the Sith code. You are something a little bit like Ahsoka,
Hmm.
who is in the middle. If you know anything about the character of Ahsoka, who was Anakin's apprentice, and very much like nature. Okay, what was great about the original Star Wars trilogy is that George Lucas, in creating his story, he studied the major religions. James, he went back and he found what are the most compelling stories, what are the things that really resonate with all people. And for this, I truly appreciate George Lucas forever, you know, regardless of the prequels. But he created something, James. He created something that people have it as their official religion, the Jedi, whatever, as their official religion. But what's wonderful about it, and what I feel like they could have done in this last trilogy to really bring it full circle, was to make Rey and Kylo Ren meet in the middle, where they would both end as gray Jedi, and then maybe that becomes the future of the Jedi, and that becomes what Rey teaches, is bringing the far dark and the far light together into the middle, and then that would be the future. So I really wish that would have been the direction that they went with it. Much like nature, James, it's yin and yang, it's light and dark, it is the balance. I've been watching a lot of Avatar: The Last Airbender. Also, it's the
Nice.
balance, James, that holds the whole universe together. It's the cosmic, and they talk so much about the cosmic force. The light and the dark of the cosmic force, and bringing characters together in that way. So, I mean, it just makes sense, doesn't it? It just makes sense that the gray Jedi would be a thing, or that would be the ultimate goal. But apparently I'm wrong. Apparently I'm wrong, and all of the supplemental material and everything that George Lucas built and all of this, the stories that they've created that seemingly make sense, that would seemingly be heading in that direction, are not?
Well,
Explain this to me.
apparently a lot of people are wrong. Well, so let me backtrack a little bit. So Freddie Prinze Jr., again, he was on the show Rebels for 4 seasons, and he worked directly under Dave Filoni. Now, Dave Filoni, he of course worked directly under George Lucas. So Freddie Prinze Jr. is pretty much, everything he learned from Dave Filoni, he learned from George Lucas. And he knows his stuff. He is a diehard Star Wars fan. And he says, by many people, he's considered, not only himself, but many people do consider him a Star Wars expert. So there are many fans who believe Grey Jedi existed, sitting between the light and dark side, including Qui-Gon Jinn, who was viewed to be a Grey Jedi, but now, we're being told that's not canon. So on this rant by Freddie Prinze Jr., he goes, quote, "There's no such thing as a Grey Jedi. Qui-Gon even says, 'I turn towards the light because it's there.' End quote. There's no gray. That's pretend fan fiction, which is cool, but I don't want to canonize it because it doesn't work, and I'm never going to buy it ever. Star Wars is for blanking kids." And so, according to Freddie Prinze Jr., again under Dave Filoni and George Lucas, apparently they had talked about the Force, and they had amongst themselves said that there is no gray Jedi. There is the light side and the dark side, and there's no in between. You're either light or good. And sure, there's redemption, so you switch. But there's no in the middle. And and so this is basically from him, and there are other people that I follow on YouTube who are big Star Wars theorists, and they understand where he's coming from. I understand where he's coming from too. So, but again, it's not sitting well with a lot of people. But according to Freddie Prinze Jr., Grey Jedi not canon, maybe legend in the legends, but not officially canon.
Yeah, I would like to see it become canon one day. I know these things often change, and hopefully the people who are the content creators in the future will have a change of heart. But here's the thing. Okay, it's for kids, but don't underestimate children. Don't underestimate their ability to understand philosophy. Don't oversimplify the human experience. Like I feel like, as much as I love Star Wars, it was pretty simplistic, right? It was evil versus good, light versus dark, and there was. I feel that like children and adults need a little bit of what's in between. I'm going to make another comparison to Avatar: The Last Airbender. That was a kids show. It was on Nickelodeon, but it incorporated so much philosophy, and I think it was, and children were able to digest that, and it made a big impact on viewers. And I think don't underestimate your audience. Don't think down on us. We can handle it. The kids can handle it. And another thing, James, if this is really a kids thing, if Star Wars is all for the kids, what the heck was that last movie? What the heck was that last movie? The whole Skywalker family dies, and then Rey ends up alone. How is that a great ending for kids? How is that the end to a spectacular space fairy tale? I question. Answer me that, Batman.
Yeah, so I understand, where Freddie Prinze Jr. is coming from when he says, Star Wars is for kids. When George Lucas made the original trilogy, he too had mentioned that this is for kids, made for kids. And yes, people grow up with the series, and maybe the point that they were trying to make is that, you may have grown up with the series, but it's not something that it is hard to explain, because again, fandom it reaches every age group. So I understand him saying, this is for kids, but you also have to take into consideration that that doesn't mean that you get to a certain age and that those movies shouldn't mean something for you or to you, or you can't take anything away from those movies. It just isn't I don't know, that clear cut.
You tell him, James. So I gave you my philosophical spiel. I think if I keep going, I'll get too into it. You know what I mean? Like too into it. But we love Star Wars. I'm very excited for the future of where Disney is taking all of these enterprises. Um, we've got Taika Waititi recently has been announced that he's going to have his own either movie or trilogy of movies. It remains to be seen what happens with the Rian Johnson trilogy. Everyone knows that I love Rian Johnson, but I know a lot of people have mixed feelings about him. And we also have all of the cartoons. We have the Clone Wars, which just had a spectacular finale, catching up with where we were with Order 66 and all of that. And we have the Mandalorian. I mean, there's just so much, James. So if there's a little hole in your heart where the Skywalker trilogy might not have been what you were hoping for, there are plenty of other ways that you can express your love for the Star Wars universe and really be a part of it. So, I mean, I'm excited about that. I will always and forever be a Star Wars fan.
So, ending on this, in your heart, do you still believe Grey Jedi exist or are canon, or do you hope that?
I mean, I think Ahsoka, I don't know why they wouldn't say it's not canon, but I think Ahsoka herself is more of a Grey Jedi than pure light side. So in my heart of hearts, and in all of my fan fiction, yes, the Grey Jedi is a thing, and it continues to be the span of human experience. You know, whether fictional or not, there will always be gray, and I think in the gray are the most interesting stories to tell, are really the most compelling, the am I this or am I that? And I think that for me, that's always been about the struggle to find the balance and the middle ground and the gray. So it will continue to be, James.
All right, so what do you think? Do you agree with Freddie Prinze Jr. and his assessment that Grey Jedi are not a canon thing? Do you think we're wrong, that there is room for the Grey Jedi both in Legends and in canon, that Qui-Gon Jinn, that Ahsoka fall into that category? Comment down below and let us know what you think. But yeah. So our final topic is a big one, talking about just entertainment as a whole when it comes to film, television, and commercials, which is, returning back to quote unquote normal, really the new normal of how things will work, not only in our own personal lives, but also in the entertainment industry. And I had the chance to speak with Kyle Couture. He is the owner of Gradient Films based in Massachusetts, mainly focusing on commercial production. And I talked to him about what he thinks the future of filmmaking has in store, because right now we're seeing in places in Australia and in Iceland filming and TV production studios, they're resuming work again. However, they're working under many more guidelines, including spacing actors apart, using camera angles to make it look like they're really close by, limiting staff. And what is that going to possibly mean for the entire entertainment industry? Do we see less jobs? Do we see longer hours with fewer people? We get into this huge interview, a huge discussion, again, with Kyle Couture, owner of Gradient Films. And here's that interview. Just to start, can I ask how you're doing during this whole pandemic?
Sure. Yeah, things are very slow right now. Our clients are pushing for more animation rather than anything live action right now. So that's been keeping us, keeping the lights on. But yeah, we're just trying to plan shoots for the future and figure out how to navigate this new world we're living in.
And I think being on set is going to look and feel much different. And I sent you those two articles regarding, how filming is beginning to start again in Australia, in Iceland, and the measures that they're going through. First off, can I ask about your reaction after seeing, some of the things that they did to ensure not only actor safety, but crew safety? Because not many people know this, but you could be filming one or two person on screen, but there's probably a dozen, or depending how big the production is, possibly over 100 people on that set. What do you imagine adopting, or how do you see your own shoots looking like, and some of those measures that could be adopted or implemented?
Sure. So we do commercial video production, so it's generally smaller crew sizes than these feature films or shows. So that's a good thing for us. I think we've been trying to think about how to keep the crew safe just from the beginning stages. You know, from the creative, the planning shots, and you know all the logistics involved, I guess. So starting from the beginning, I think we've been thinking about safety. So we're gonna keep our crew sizes more limited. Budget for overtime hours to compensate for the less people on set. And then just planning shots where actors don't have to interact as closely, and workarounds creatively to avoid if we can shoot outside rather than inside, we're going to do that. Stuff like that.
And could you give me some examples of some of those shots that may be set up? Is it possible to shoot something where actors are 6 or more feet apart, but in the camera or with the camera, they look much closer or more intimate?
Sure. Yeah. Generally, we can use, longer lenses. I'm trying to think of the best way to explain this here. Yeah, generally, longer lenses kind of compress the scene, so they make subjects look closer together than they are in real life. So using longer lenses rather than like a wide angle, which would really showcase the distance that the subjects are. I think those are ways we can use lenses to make that happen. Editing is a great tool for this as well. We'll probably think about, having our scenes be much shorter rather than, extending scenes. I think that's a great tool for working around these issues.
Now, I'm not sure how often you work with background actors, but I was speaking with the reporter, contributing editor with the Hollywood Reporter last week, and he was saying that the fates or the future of background actors is very uncertain, because when they are filming these large productions and you have many extras, normally when they're not being used, they're kept together in a tense, very close quarters. But now there's the idea or the talk that many of these background actors will be included digitally. Now, again, I don't know if you often work with background actors, but can I get your opinion or thought on that potential future of them not getting as much work or being digitalized?
Right. Yeah. I think, I think already, we're using technology to, limit the number of people necessary on set, and I think this is just it's probably going to be used as another reason to use technology to not need these background extras. I think it's unfortunate, but I guess it's the way we're having to adapt. For us personally, we don't use like a large number of background extras. We sometimes maybe this will be a new thing where we'll use more of the crew or the client throw them in there where needed. But I think everyone's just trying to adapt, I guess, where they see fit to limit the risk.
And lastly, to try to get a roundup of this for future productions, can you give me a list of some of the ideas that you saw maybe mentioned in the article that you think are doable, or maybe some ideas that you thought of on your own that may be implemented in future shoots?
Sure. Yeah, I think, like I said before, starting in the beginning stages, we'll think about, how to keep talent and crew safe, from the shot list to, the concepts we're coming up with. We'll budget for extra time on set, so we can keep, crews smaller. We'll also, limit the number of clients. Hopefully, we've been pushing for, live streaming our camera feed so clients can give feedback, in real time remotely. I think that'll be a big one. We'll have, crews fill out questionnaires and, make sure they're not, showing any symptoms beforehand. I think checking temperatures, is a great, step as well. Personally, we've, like started to order, face masks that are individually packaged and gloves. And, we've thought about, getting having a production assistant that's designated specifically to, kind of cleaning up, disinfecting surfaces and, doing all that stuff. Another thing is getting individually packed meals and snacks, no open food containers, none of that. We also talked about, working in shifts. So, the lighting team will come in and they'll do their thing. And then, the camera department and talent will come in so we can, minimize the number of people that are gathering together. And then as weather is getting nicer, we've talked about, we'll have a tent outside and we'll stage the unnecessary crew outdoors, as much as possible, just to, keep the number of people, together in one area down.
So the future of filmmaking for films, TV, and commercials is really up in the air. We're going to really see, how each individual studio does adapt. If there's going to be a huge guideline, across the board. Can I ask you, as a background actor, one of the first discussions, and we kind of brought this up last time, that people may be added digitally instead of actually having them there, because
that's something, James, that we've been hearing. So as many of you may know, I'm a background actor on a lot of films and TV shows here in New England, and really, with the coronavirus, we've kind of been knocked off track. A lot of productions have completely ceased, and they may not. Some are starting to pick back up, though. There might be one or two small productions, one or two small commercials that are picking back up, and hopefully that continues to gain momentum. However, the question as to whether or not we will have additional actors in the background remains to be seen. I know the union's been talking about it. There are some productions who they want to digitally insert background people so that they minimize the number of people on set and the number of people that are exposed to their actors, or just in general having more outdoor scenes, like the gentleman you interviewed was talking about, having more work that is outside and spaced out so that we don't we're fighting a bug. Oh, the drama. We're ready to work though, James, so it remains to be seen. Some people are a little bit nervous. There's been an impact on the bottom line for, pretty much everyone in every industry. So we'll see how the next few months shake out, but I would like to see them being kind of creative with how we use background actors and additional actors in general, and less inserting them digitally, because either way, it's bad for the industry and it doesn't look good on camera. So I really hope that that's not the way that they go, or if they do, that it doesn't last that long. What do you guys think? Anyone listening right now, what do you think that they should do, if anything, and what do you hope to see? We'd love to hear from you.
Yeah, well, time will tell. Well, Jamie, again, I hope I see you more. I see more of your hands and feet and you driving cars and doing things in more movies. So I'm keeping my fingers crossed.
I'm in Defending Jacob, episode 1. I am a medical examiner in the background, in the woods with Chris Evans. That was a spectacular experience. I'm going to be watching Defending Jacob this week to review it next week, and I'll share some of my experience on the set. So tune in next week for that, for sure.
All right, perfect. Well, for this week's Hub on Hollywood, I'm James.
I'm Jamie.
And
see you next time.
Now you're done?
Yes, now I'm done. Oh my God.